Welcome back to the Willis Podcast. How you guys doing, ladies and gentlemen? First of all, I apologize for being negligent late, simply because I hadn't been on in a few days, and I had to take some time to myself. Sometimes you got to rejuvenate, you got to renew your thoughts, renew your mind, and sometimes rediscover, and make sure you stay, basically studious, stay reassured, stay understood, and never give up your space and your time for nobody that's, not worth it. But anyway, I had a lot of good time and effort to spend with family over the weekend, and a lot of time and space to think about the next episode, and then being around so many people and still seeing the mind state in the propensity of how people operate, how they get down. I see growth and I see people that are, stagnant, and I see people that are learning on a continuum. So I'm kind of like cool with what I've seen. I've been out and about. Do I record everything? No. Some things are sacred. Some things you don't need to record and put on camera for everybody to see. Some things are just meant for you and the other person, or you and your group of people. And that's a beautiful thing. But understand this. This show is about global colorism and how shade can become a social currency. Yeah, see, you think you have to understand the origins of the new world, origins of this country, and how people position and wanted to have one thing that they're associated with: whiteness. And I don't think that was indigenous black people's issue at all. I think indigenous black people, we wanted to get as far away from white people as we could. It's kind of how we understood the world, how we understood everything, because of the trauma. But then the world started changing, and you start understanding that all white people ain't bad. Oh my God, wait a minute. Because of the relationships and how people started to view each other really differently. See, America matured a great deal, but the government set in implanted principles and propaganda techniques to never let us come together fully. You see, that was the conversation before immigrants ever came to America. So, from my understanding, the immigrants that came to America considered themselves to be white or white adjacent, even if they were black or visibly black, identifiably melanated, as if, wait a minute, you may be melanated, but you don't quite look like the indigenous American, which they were not even allowed to say or allowed to even admit what and who we were. So think about it. That was the original situation between the Americas. But then when you had immigrants that come here, and they became more so white adjacent, and that white adjacency, they believe, gave them this false sense of an ideological power of being operating in a system that is adjacent to what was given to you, as to why you were able to pursue success. Understand that. But let's be clear. We're going to get the show started. Why colorism shapes the world. Because of what you want to be affiliated with, adjacent with, a relationship with, or how it can benefit you and your society, and how you want it to, what? Gather and garner success for you and your family, and those that you are liking, that are like you. But let's keep going. There's a philosophy of colorism. Who taught us the value of shade? Well, in the Latin American countries, they taught themselves, and they got a great deal of training with it, even within their own households. They discriminate against each other. Like I was speaking about an earlier podcast I did maybe a year ago. I was talking about Eva Longoria, and she said she was the ugly duckling because she was dark. Beautiful, fine ass, pretty ass Mexican lady. Gorgeous woman. Gorgeous. I like her. She's my type. But anyway, ugly because she didn't have their shade. Man, so the thing is, crazy part about these equations is I go on Facebook, right? Go on Facebook, and you have Spaniards, Siberians, Filipinos or mestizos. You got them calling me saying, with you and your afro hair and your dark skin, you look African. That's what you look like. You look like you're. I'm like, oh, okay. You don't. So you don't understand your roots, where you come from, and what your phenotype. You're a watered down version of your granddaddy. He was dark skinned too. I don't care how far you go back or how new you are. Your origins are dark. That's just kind of how it goes. It don't matter what anybody told you or what you think you know. I promise you, if you're light skinned, you're just a lighter version of a dark skinned person somewhere. Ta-da! Anyway, so be careful what you say out your mouth, because the the antenna afro hair is the most aboriginal hair, and you should be lucky that it is associated with the Americas, because all blacks are not from Africa. That's just the facts. You can't change that. I love when people say, "Oh, everybody's from Africa." No, everybody share DNA. We're all one race of beings with a lot of colors. Some colors that are, you know, not so favorable to the sun. That's what you call a pale complected person. That's not me speaking negative about people that have lighter or no pigment. It means that they have less or far less melanin, and that is a issue as well, because it creates an issue when you don't identify with people of a different color or race or being. It creates xenophobia. It creates a limited way of thinking and orchestrating and understanding. It limits your connection to humanity. So if you identify as being white or a person of lesser melanated complexion, that means you don't understand that you're a little further away from what is humane, and you should want to come back to it, but you prefer to distance yourself. That's not my problem. That's a personal problem. Unfortunately, you see that your daddy is a mutant, and that's you. But anyway, let's move past that. So, colorism is different from race. It refers to the preference of discrimination based on the skin tone within across communities. What I'm trying to explain with this episode, we can examine where those ideas can become from, where they come from, how they influence identity, relationships, and media, opportunity, and how individuals and communities can build a healthier perspective. So you have to understand what your disdainment is first and foremost. You have to understand what that looks like, how it feels. So what is colorism? A definition of colorism in disguise, in distinguish it from racism. There's no real distinguishment. But examples of colorism across different regions and origins of the world, how beauty standards have changed. You know, it speaks a lot about the psychosis and mentality of the European effect and the enlightenment of the so-called white man or the European in this revolution and this renaissance created chaos, havoc, destruction, and turmoil for the rest of the world in order for you to eat good, in order for us to solve your problems. That's not efficient when you're talking about a global economy or a world that everybody's supposed to have their talents, their lands exist within proprietary proportions, and understanding how those that work harder and those that are distinguished should rise to the top. But you seem to not make a way for the people of color in established mediocre whites. That's kind of what you did. But okay, so the philosophy of colorism is how repeated messages shape self-identity. So if you're going to tell black kids with the test, the black child is the black child, and you got the black child is the bad child, and you got white kids and black kids, white T kids, and all the kids associating everything bad with black just because of how they shape society and what they see around them, what they're surrounded around, what succumbs them. And so when you understand, even within the communities in the African community on the continent in Africa, or the Caribbean islands where they literally wear a hell of a lot of cake soap, and they formulate a lot of different practices and elements that are associated with European practices, even the way they want to manner themselves and how they want to treat. Well, hell, I understand that's your children. And I can't really say that Europeans are fashioning themselves after Africans when they're actually Europeans are fashioning themselves after Africans. So Africans are learning their old concepts, and maybe they've always had them concepts. That's their children. They gave them the rights to do everything they did. I'm telling you, it's in this book right here. It's the affairs of West Africa. I'm telling you, and I've shown you. I've read to you many times out of this book. I got more to say today, but we will get more to this book. I know I keep showing it, and I know I keep saying we got more to say about it, but I can't help but tell you that the absolutes about some things that are true and some things that just will never be true. I don't give a damn how anybody want to shape it, because the real identity is, or the real actual problem is, they don't understand that melanated people are the global majority, and we're in every nick and cranny of the globe. So whether it be a straight-haired melanated person or a curly-haired melanated person, a woolly-haired melanated person, we're everywhere and always have been, every single nick and cranny on the globe. So your out of Africa theory, that shit just ain't true. There was one landmass. You think we didn't survive on all of them? You think they ain't find what they wanted to find in some places that you just can't go today because they know things that they don't want us to know at all? But let's keep going. That's the philosophy of colorism in a destructive way, but the global perspective. See, let's discuss how colorism appears in different parts of the world. In Africa, they call that the dark continent because of all the melanated people there, and they also produce white albinos. They still produce a mass number of albinos on that planet this day, on that continent this day. They produce albinos. This has got way more ways of protecting them. And they send, and they have, in Dr. Francis Cress Welson's work, if you know the ISIS paper, they'll tell you the Grimaldi tribe was taken to Europe to save their children. So they've always defended and protected what they have created. Didn't Yaqub do so? Do you understand the story of Yaqub and how he protected and wanted to create that different, basically snatched the melanin from the being and see what it is. He couldn't wait. He wanted it. But you got to study who he was too. That's another story. So you got the Caribbean, which have an amalgamated amount of traits and influences of the world because of, their presence, the Taino presence, the indigenous presence there. And in Jamaica, the Chinese presence. And you got Haiti, the French presence. They fought the French out. Then you got a whole bunch of people that would slaughter themselves because the Western world, they actually defeated the French. The biggest problem that people have with the Western world has with Haiti is they gave their French their heads. The French can never fight for real though, but they really beat the piss out of them. And that pissed them off. So they punished them forever. They said, regardless of your product, your lands, and everything, the people of Haiti did not want the French in their lands, nowhere around, nowhere shape or fashion. And it cost them for not being a real people. And they did have bad and false governance, Papa Duck, and a lot of infiltrated presidents that were compromised. So the country would stay in a failure state due to the lack of leadership and understanding and a lack of connection to the people and what they really needed. So anyway, all of those things were orchestrated. And the Caribbean, and that's Haiti's issue. Then you got you look at South America. I know that's South America, not the Caribbean, but you look at the Argentina story. It's a shame. It's pitiful. Look at what they do to, and look at how they still view blacks today. If you go to Cuba, if you go to every single solitary hole in South America, there is extreme division. It looks like unity. It looks like they're divided. It looks like they're unified by their language, but they are extremely divided. Extremely destructive nations upon nations. And I wish it wasn't that way, but they have the worst forms of colorism that they even have brought here that's even more despicable to whites. Whites don't even like the kind of brand of racism that they got in South America and in Central America and in the Caribbean, and they act as if that shit don't exist. Are you crazy? That shit's rampant, and it's been like that. But anyway, so you got North and South America, you got Asia. Asia is a very magnificent landmass. You got South Asia, which you have all of the Negro, or let's say this, melanated, beautifully complected people in South Asia, and you have a lot of um, Nordic or Siberian or Russian, pale European is they're a bit rough. They're not so happy. And they have these things that exist on the same continent. So there are differences. And I'm not saying all, some people or the other are unbarbaric and not barbaric, but there's a people that have a state, a mind state that they carry, and if they're comfortable or secure within themselves, they're not so angry. But when you're so angry, you may not be so comfortable and secure a lot. You may have a lot to prove a lot, and that may be your own fucking problem. But anyway, let's keep going. We got media and representation. You got the castings in television. Bollywood says the same thing. Oh, they think that ain't no dark skinned people in India. Damn, why we always got pale complected Bravians on TV? Why we always got them on? Why we not represented in India? And then you got and that's global. It's a global situation. It's a global issue of casting the pale image globally, acting as if or playing a role as if you don't come from the darker races. Is almost like an extreme insecurity being a pale complected person or a lighter skin complected person. And it shouldn't be. But it's the insecurity and the lack of understanding of identity which leads you to your failures in your tragic situations with wanting to compete instead of learning. So social media filters and beauty trends, marketing, cosmetic industries, representation of who gets to portray as successful or desirable. Man, it's so crazy how you people make dark skin a fetish even now, like more so than ever. You see all these white girls globally hopping on every dark dick they can find. Every melanated painter that'll give him a stroke down there, get him a wet down. I'm not hating. I'm just saying it's just that's kind of how that shit going now. Ain't nobody listen. People do what they want. I mean, you got a lot of fine fucking women all over the world right now, and they got BBLs. You can't tell depending on how much money they paid on it. You got so much shit going on. I mean, it's quite nice. It's quite good to look at too. It's entertainment. You dig? Everybody want to be entertainers, and because they want their paper. But anyway, all I'm saying is, man, think about the equations and how the world's spinning, and how marketing and how this expansion and how everybody wants some blonde hair want to be auburn, some dark hair want to be blonde, and all of these people want a different look, but everybody want a darker complexion. Everybody want a tan. Everybody want the shape. Everybody want a taste. Well, that's in your DNA too. Always have been. You ever read The Delectable Negro? Shit. Let's be clear. Let's be for real. The shit happen like that sometimes, right? Anyway, let's keep going. All right. The cost. Oh shit. Here go the cost of this colorism shit. You got mental health. That's a problem. Self-esteem, dating and relationships, workplace perceptions, family dynamics, and community unity. So when you want to be the black person, I hear it all the time. I live in an all-white neighborhood. I'm black. And I'm just tired. Well, why the fuck you moved in the first place? That's your problem. See, I like to go home and be happy. And I like to say, hey, neighbor, what's happening? What's going on? Even if I don't like them, I'm like, they're cool. They're going through the same shit I'm going through. Oh, well, it's cool. But I know my neighborhood may look like fucking the United Nations, and that's fine with me. I'm cool with that. But I don't have a problem with them. We ain't judge. We just say what's happening. We speak. We keep it light and easy because everybody understands. Like the air, the tone. People are not struggling and starving where they ain't got enough money to think, damn, is something going on here? Do I have to, is there something I have to do? Is there something I need to do? Do I have to make some changes? See, to understand when you have a trustworthy atmosphere, and you have a subtle place around you, you can think different. You can think further. You can strategize. You can orchestrate. You can build. You can have the ability to stretch your imagination to always be safe, even if it costs getting a couple more toys to make yourself feel a little safer. So anyway, be aware of where you at. Also be aware of your mental health, of where you live, your mental health state. If you stressed out and you can't sleep, if you ain't healthy where you are, you gotta get a skill set to change your situation. That's kind of how that happens. Dating and relationships, things of that nature. Date who you're comfortable with, and also date your grade. Do shit like that. Use common sense. God damn it. Anyway, so solutions: teaching accurate history to your children. That's especially for white people. You don't have to feel victimized by saying, "Well, we did a lot of awful things." Just say, we're very immature people, and we can learn a lot from other people. That's humbling, ain't it? But it's also applicable. Just to be clear and concise, I ain't trying to keep it too long. But encouraging confidence, independent of appearance. You know, be confident in your capabilities. Be confident in who you are. Be confident in what you can bring to the world as a good thing, as a good space, as a good place. Think about those things, and your confidence will appear because you know what you have to offer. Then you won't rely so much on superficial things that you want to be real, but they're just not. So you focus on the good things that are inside you, so you can portray them, walk into them, mature yourself, so the steps become clearer. It's a better path. So anyway, check this out. You want to support media that reflects human diversity, dignity, abstractness amongst beings that, people that are learning and people that are, elevating their minds to see further and beyond this vessel. They like to see the intricacies and the beauty of how people mature. So anyway, I'm gonna give a part two to this show. I just didn't want to keep it too long. We coming back to you tonight. I thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you so much. I will be back, and I will share part two. But anyway, I got company. I got my family here. You know what I'm saying? I've been having a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time off, but I had to get back to my people. I love you. I appreciate you. Subscribe, share, and share the show with your people, man. I'll be back. I'll do another one too. I'm not done. But it's good and refreshing to always rejuvenate and take a break. I love you guys. I appreciate my people. Thank you. And have a great night. Have a good time. You know it's my favorite part of the show. You know what it is. The wheel is yours. Be cool. Be easy. Be peaceful. I'll come back around too. Holla at you guys. Peace.